Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. We are officially here, ladies and gentlemen. The season is upon us today. The journey of the 2024 NFL season begins. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Tuesday morning?
We're here. We're finally here. We finally made it. List season, not quite done. We're going to talk about some lists, but yeah, at least we're going to have actual football activity to speak of moving forward.
Everybody's squeaking their last-minute list in there, Johnny Mac, before everybody gets back to camp. I got some countdowns. I want to give everybody our countdowns of where we are in the offseason. Boys, it's exciting, John. I am very excited to get back to the season. We have officially, everybody, 0 days to training camp. The Eagles report today. They will be on the first media availability and open practice will be tomorrow. So Johnny Mac will be down there for that. But so 0 days till training camp. 9 days away from the open practice at Lincoln Financial Field. So all you fans, if you guys are going to that, I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat. 9 days away from the open practice. 44 days away from the NFL opener. And 45 days away from Eagles versus Packers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Ooh, Johnny Mac, it's so close I can almost taste it, that opening game.
Yeah, you're closer than me. It's still far away for me, from my perspective.
45 days, man.
I wish we can get right to the season, but you got to go through. You got to prepare as best you can. So this will start the process, and a lot of interesting questions in Eagles training camp. I think less than most teams, which is always a good thing. I think competition, obviously is very interesting, but I think the more positions where you have competition is probably a bad thing. If you're an NFL team, you want guys who are obviously leading their particular positions, and the less question marks you have is probably the better. And I don't think you see it. We talk about it all the time. Right guard, wide receiver 3 on offense, a little bit more on defense. But I think that's a good thing when you don't have a ton of competition.
Yeah, so we'll see how it all plays out. Tons of great storylines heading into the year, heading into training camp here. We'll talk about it all. We got 2 great guests planned for you guys today. We have Bill Colarulo, Big Bill, coming up in hour number 1. So he'll be in around 14 minutes from now at 8:20 a.m. And then at 9:20 in the hour number 2, we will have Scott Grayson from Fox 29, who does great work. So I haven't talked to Scott in a little bit. It'll be great to get his perspective. So a full show planned for you today. And then a programming note, everybody. Very important. I get this out there. Very important. You guys know this, all of our loyal fans. Tomorrow morning, Johnny Mac will be heading down to NovaCare. Everything. It's the first day. So he's got media, credentials, all sorts of stuff to deal with in the morning. So we will do our Birds 365 tomorrow and Thursday at 6 to 8 p.m. So we will do it out of the National Football Show. It'll be a nighttime edition of Birds 365, something we've never done since the start of the show, but different times, different measures. We will be doing 6 to 8 p.m. We want to make sure we give you guys 2 hours of footage of content. And to be honest with you, I feel better about doing it that way because then we get John's fresh perspective on being down at practice. So 6 to 8 p.m. everybody tomorrow. Mark it in your calendars. Twiz, good idea. I will pin that in the chat. That Birds 365 will be 6 to 8 p.m. tomorrow night, and then back to our regular scheduled programming on Friday, 8 a.m. in the morning. And then the other thing to note is I will do something tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Johnny Mac can't tomorrow because of the media stuff. He has to get down there extra early for the first day. And Thursday, we will do something together, 8 a.m. Even if it's just a 30-minute quick preview, we will do something in the morning so that you guys who are loyal here at 8 a.m. every day have something. So just a programming note. Remember that, everybody. Birds 365, 6 to 8 p.m. tomorrow and Thursday. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate each and every one of you. Dank, Smile, Ryan, James, Ray, Chan, Callie, Suplex, all of our loyal listeners. We appreciate you all for being here. All through the summer, we made it, everybody. Drop a like on the show. Johnny Mac, let's dive in. I wanted to talk about the NFL did their top 100. We'll start there. We got two players, your favorite, Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith.
I hate that. Boy. You
What's
know,
that?
I hate, I don't blame you. Everybody does it.
Yeah.
My
Can't
favorite
blame me for
Saquon
that one.
Barkley. I think it was funny because we have two Saquon Barkley truthers today. And Scott's probably going to be in that category as well. But I would say Xander's a Saquon truther. I would say Bill Colarulo is a definitely a Saquon truther. And I'm considered a Saquon hater. But I asked both of you guys what you expect out of Saquon Barkley, and I expect more out of Saquon Barkley. I expect he's going to do more than Xander Krause and Bill Colarulo. But I'm the hater. I'm the hater because of the way I frame it. And I think just people are unrealistic. And it's ironic. You and Bill aren't unrealistic. But yet you still think I'm the hater.
No, I don't think you're the hater. I've just now used the voice of the people who have made it known that they don't like Johnny Mac's takes.
Which is the perfect example of why people hear what they want to hear.
Yeah, I know.
Now, back to the hating. I mean, it's absurd. This list is absurd. I've explained it. I'm in the locker room every year when they do it locally. The players spend about 10 seconds on it. There's a few exceptions that give it a decent amount of thought. But for the most part, it's a popularity contest. But getting that out of the way, boy, even you started off, not that Saquon doesn't belong on the list, he belongs on the list. And that's, by the way, a bad sign because he's got so much respect from his peers from an athletic standpoint. He's usually rated above where he should be. So, being down in the 80s wherever he was, probably not a good sign. But
I think it was 86. Yeah, 86 for Saquon.
Yeah. But if you're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, and Ed Kratz and I did our top 25 at SI.com. Everybody can check that out heading into training camp. SI.com/NFL/Eagles. Are you kidding me? Devontae Smith isn't ahead of Saquon. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I agree with you on this, John.
I mean, come on. There's an example of reputation over reality. Right off the bat. So, if that's hating, so be it. But Devontae's probably too low on the list. Saquon's probably right where he should be overall.
Well, if Saquon and Devontae are the first guys that come in on the Eagles, and they only did the countdown, I don't know what they did it up to, 90 or 85 or wherever they went to. How many more Eagles are going to make the list? I think there's going to be Lane Johnson will be on there. I think AJ Brown will be on there. Jalen Hurts will probably be on there. It could be a bunch of Eagles coming in on the top 100 NFL players. I know it doesn't mean too much, but hey, it's good. It's a good little hype. It's a good little hype as we start training camp, Johnny Mac, for the people. I can tell there's some extra energy in the chat today. So we appreciate everybody in there. And then, John, who was the other outlet we discussed pre-show? Was it USA Today?
Well, before I get to USA Today, because it'll frame it in. PFF did their top 50, which to me is more relevant. Now, this is not a good. They just tweeted out their top 10 players in the NFC. And I retweeted. Everybody wants to go to my X account at JF McMullen. 5 49ers. 5 49ers.
On the top 10?
On the top 10 of the NFC. 1 Viking, which is Justin Jefferson. 2 Cowboys. 1 Giant, which is Dexter Lawrence, and I kept telling people he's the best player on the New York Giants, and 1 Eagle. And the Eagle is number 10 overall, Lane Johnson. So it goes Trent Williams, number 1, Justin Jefferson, number 2, Micah Parsons, number 3, Nick Bosa, number 4, Fred Warner, number 5, Christian McCaffrey, number 6. And boy, it's pretty good when Christian McCaffrey's your 4th best player. I don't agree with that, but that's where he is. Dexter Lawrence is number 7. George Kittle is number 8. CD Lamb is number 9. Lane Johnson, number 10. And by the way, AJ is the best player on the Eagles. So, but Lane's second, where we had Lane second at SI. But there you have it. So nationally, I think it's ironic. I think there's been a little bit of a hit to the expectations. And then I was bringing up USA Today. They did their win projections. And I had the Eagles. Good news, bad news here. They're going to win the NFC East, but they're only going to be 10-7. So take it as you wish.
If you're 10-7 and you win the NFC East, then you have new life, John. You have a chance at the playoff. Look, I appreciate the regular season, obviously, and I know it's very important, and I know I projected 13 wins, but I've always had the mindset, get into the playoffs. Once the playoffs start, it's a new season. It's a new year. It's a new opportunity to start 0-0 and make your run. You can get in and you can upset some people. It's any given Sunday, right? And
that's right. That's the Andy Reid philosophy.
Shit. I mean, we're in the playoffs. We can make something of that. And I'm not too upset at that. 10 wins. I think they're going to do a little better than 10 wins. But 10 wins is still good too. That's double-digit wins. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. I have them at 11, so it's right. And I, know, with the Jody Mack trademark exercise, if I go up, you got to go up one or go down one. I'm going down one, so I don't have a problem with it. I think that's where they are. I think there's going to be some hiccups early in the season, and I think they're going to right the ship a little bit later. New coordinators, all that kind of stuff. Jalen Hurts learning another new system. I think there's going to be some struggles. Young defensive backs, communication, Vic Fangio defense, linebackers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't have a problem with the projection, and I'm with you. That's the whole Andy Reid philosophy. Get consistently good, get to the dance, and if the stars align and you're playing well at the end of the season, like what did 10-1 get you last year? Not much. Maybe you start, people are going to be upset, but if you're 6-4, and you start to play better, you get to 11 or something of that nature, you're better heading into the playoffs, most likely.
Yep, no doubt about it. So I'm all right with that. I think they'll be a little better than 10, like I said. But if they're 10 and they win the NFC East, shit, I'll live with that. John, I want to go back to the 10 players in the NFC you mentioned, which is interesting from PFF. I actually don't have too much of a problem with most of this list. There is a couple things I don't like about it, but Trent Williams at number 1. Okay, I mean, he's going to be that guy. He's that good of a player. Maybe he's going to take a small step back at some point here in the future. He is getting older. Justin Jefferson's fine at 2. Micah Parsons fine at 3. Nick Bosa 4. Fred Warner 5. McCaffrey 6. I'm pretty good with all them. I'm even good with Dexter Lawrence 7. 8, 9, and 10 is probably where
I'm not good with. I think Dexter was 7 at one point. I think they went too high on him. You're right about Trent Williams. At some point, you're going to have the downtick, but we haven't seen it. Same thing with Lane.
Yeah, so that's why I'm kind of surprised Lane is down at 10. I think Trent's a better tackle than Lane. Well, he also is the left tackle, which I think is in the NFL world, it's viewed as the more valuable tackle for, because it's most quarterbacks blindside. But I think Lane Johnson's right there in terms of play. I think Trent's a little better, but I don't think it's like a big gap between Trent Williams and Lane Johnson. Do you?
Yeah, well, that's relative. I mean, Trent Williams is the best.
I agree.
Offensive lineman of his generation. First ballot Hall of Fame. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Maybe the most dominant player, really dating back to his days in Washington. So, and a lot of people didn't know it because it wasn't a great team, but he's been a great player for a long time. I don't have, it's not an insult to say you're not Trent Williams. Lane's, in the conversation to be right behind him. I would say that. The list, I think the problem, I have no problem with anybody else on the list, except, you can argue AJ is better than CD.
Yeah, that's where I was going. You have Kittle too at 8. You think Look, I know
Yeah,
Kittle's
Kittle's
great.
phenomenal.
I know,
Kittle's
but you
phenomenal.
think you think AJ Brown isn't as good as George Kittle? I know they're different positions.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean,
I'm
yeah,
taking
they're
AJ
two.
Brown. If I have players lined up, if I'm going back to recess in grade school, and you're picking players off the wall, I'm picking AJ Brown over George Kittle all day, all day,
Yeah,
all day.
I think I would focus on CD more than George. I mean,
I think my point is though, I think he's better
it
than both.
depends on the rules. Obviously, if you're playing in the
Yeah,
plate, you want a receiver. I mean, yeah, George is like one of the only guys who can dominate as a flex receiver, dominate as a blocker. Um, I talk about the luxury the Eagles have with their tackles. Well, it's also a luxury to have a tight end that can hold up in pass protection or can set the edge in the run game. And there's about two guys on the planet that can do it. And George is one of them.
all
So
right. You
I
want to know
know
why I'll take Brown though? Here's George Kittle's stat line from the Super Bowl: two catches for 4 yards.
yeah, but I mean, come on. You're taking one outline. If you take Super Bowls, Eli
I'm
Manning's
talking
better
about when the lights are the brightest, Johnny Mac. I'm talking about
Eli
when the
Manning
lights
then
are
is
the brightest.
better. Eli Manning, that's the dumb argument where people say Eli Manning's better than Tom Brady or Tim Smith or guys who've had big Super Bowls.
That's not what I'm saying.
Or by that measure, Corey Clement may be the best running back in Eagles history because he performed in the Super Bowl.
No, I'm just saying when the lights are bright, Kittle wasn't there and AJ was
consistently over a long portion of his career, and that's what PFF is about. George Kittle's a great player. I'm saying, look, if you ask me, and I can go back to when the Eagles got AJ because I knew he was good. I didn't know how good, and I had him right in the bottom of the top 10 receivers in the NFL. And I remember having this discussion with Jody, and I had CD ahead of him. Now, a lot of that had to do with where he was playing and the traffic and all that kind of stuff. And now that he's gotten here, and I see him every day, now I'd put AJ over CD. Now, if you asked a Dallas reporter, John Machota, somebody we have on the show, he'd probably say CD's better because he gets to see him every day. So there's a little bit of but they're both great. And I think if you put AJ at 9 and CD at 11 or vice versa, I don't have a problem with it either way. But that would be my stronger argument. George Kittle's a Hall of Fame player. I have no issue with that. The bigger issue I have with Dexter Lawrence, because I think he's descending from where he was. I think at one point he belonged on the list. I don't think he belongs on the list right now. But I think it's interesting that on the NFC side, on their top players, not one quarterback, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, if you did the AFC, it'd probably be all
exactly.
All right, Johnny Mac, let's get to our first commercial break. We got Bill Colarulo in the waiting room. I am excited to talk to Bill. The season is upon us. 0 days to camp. Eagles reporting today. So we are here. James Carver drops us a big super chat. James, thank you, brother. I know you said read it later on when you're back in the show. Just drop a comment, James, and we will go to your super and we will discuss that. 1999, James Carver drops a super chat. Thank you, brother. We appreciate that very much and appreciate everybody in the chat. Make sure you guys like the show. Big crowd already here this morning, so we appreciate all of you. Let's get to our first commercial break. Bill Colarulo coming up next on Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.